Hello and welcome to the Patrick Chapman Show. I'm Patrick Chapman, and here we go. When I was in my mid-20s, living in Los Angeles, I went to a party one night with a workmate named Mark. And I didn't know anybody at the party except Mark. So I was standing around in that way you do when you don't know anybody, mostly next to Mark, when from behind me, out of the din, came the word hockey. Now, let's jump back 20 years to when I would watch the Blackhawks on TV, roller skate hell for leather down the sidewalk, and slap shoot tennis balls against the garage doors until somebody would come out of the house and tell me again to cut that out. One winter back in those years, my papa ran a hose from the kitchen sink out the back door and made an ice rink in the backyard. Talk about creating fun. Then when I was a little older, I would take the black figure skates that had been handed down to me from our neighbors, the Schwallenbachs. How do you spell Schwallenbach? And walk to the local rink on Cypress next to the frozen creek. I was a pretty good skater, but I never had hockey skates, nor the guts to go on the boarded hockey rink with the big boys. Later we moved to Louisiana, where the wish of someday taking Chico Mackey's job would fall into a deep dormancy until this party where hockey hit my ear like a bullet. I turned and approached the guy who had said the word, introduced myself, and asked whether I'd overheard him correctly. Did he say hockey? Then he told me about this league he was in for adult beginners. What could be more perfect? I'm an adult and I'm a beginner. They have everything in LA. If you have any hobby, you can do it in LA. You can find it, whatever weirdness it is, however obscure, you can find it there. I called the league the next day, and I remember it wasn't that league. They couldn't take me. They were like in the middle of the league or something. They wouldn't take any new guys at that moment. And the guy on the phone gave me the number to another league. So they got two leagues, for beginner adults to play hockey. And so I called and I talked to that league, joined a team. I walked to the local hockey shop. We had a shop right in the neighborhood. I just walked there and outfitted myself from sticks to skates, went to my first practice where I could only stop myself by crashing into the boards or into the other guys, embarrassingly, and ended up playing 3 fun-filled seasons without jeopardizing any Blackhawks job. One part of the joy of the whole hockey experience was going out to the car for the long drive home after practice, usually quite late at night, but stopping first in the parking lot where the boys were assembled, drinking a cold one or two, and discussing such philosophical questions as whether or not Scottie Pippen was any good without Michael Jordan, or the latest movies, or favorite restaurants, etc. And then the longest drive home in the fluid LA night traffic, window down, radio on. And there on the radio at that late hour was often a show called Religion on the Line, hosted by one Dennis Prager. And I had already become a big fan of Dennis Prager's at work, where Mark, of the party, would listen to his various talk shows. Dennis Prager became one of those rare people whom I would agree with even if I didn't know what he'd said. But I knew that he had said it. One brief example of something he said, which rang true, was that if you don't like somebody, do something nice for him. Be kind. And then you will presently come to like him. Anyway, not long after coming to admire Dennis Prager on the radio, I moved to Poland and lost touch. Many, many years later, Facebook appeared, and I happily rediscovered him at PragerU and his fireside chats. Recently, he suffered a serious accident and is now recovering from spinal cord damage. So here's a shout out to my old friend who doesn't know me, and I wish him a full return to health. Get well soon, Dennis Prager. Okay, now to the next topic, which is parties. I want to talk about parties and the difference between American parties and Polish parties. So, the first real party I ever went to at a private home in Poland was a birthday party for an 18-year-old in Płock. The first thing I noticed was that when the boys entered the small apartment, they would walk through and shake hands with all the other guys, including me. And I was surprised by the nonchalance of the handshakes. No introductions or talking or eye contact. Just shake, shake, shake. One guy, two guys, three guys. You know, it's just a little weird, a little different than the Americans would do it. Even if we did shake hands, which sometimes we do, but sometimes we don't. The next surprise happened when they put on music and started dancing. And they danced in couples. And the boys knew how to lead. And everyone danced. Very unlike any party for teenagers I'd ever experienced in America. I decided right away that I would have to learn how to dance. One day we'll talk about dance lessons, but right now I just want to talk about parties. At that LA party I'd talked about, where I found out about hockey in California, most people there were standing around, probably with drinks in their hands, mostly not sitting and certainly not dancing. I don't remember there being any food at all, although at most parties there are snacky snacks of some sort. Americans don't usually expect to be fed at a party in the evening, but they do expect to drink, even if it's only soft drinks or coffee and no alcohol. But usually there is alcohol, even if it's only beer. And an American would not find any weirdness at all in showing up at someone's house with a cup of coffee already in his hand. By contrast, a Polak would not want to stand up the whole time and would expect to sit down on a chair at a table with food. And I learned that the hard way. The first party I ever hosted was in Dobiegniew, and I had a nice little apartment inside the school building, and it was the only apartment in that building. And to get to me, you had to go through the first gate, and then a wooden door, and then another locked gate inside the building. And we didn't have any phones in those days at all, unless you went to the post office or something. Or there might have been later they had phones on the street. But I didn't have a phone. There was no way to contact me. You had to throw rocks at my window or bang on the door. But I had invited 5 or 6 people over, and I was getting ready for the party. So, I'd clean up a little bit and get some. I'd bought a big case of beer, so all in bottles of beer. Żywiec, which was the most popular beer and also the hardest thing to say. Żywiec. I remember learning that early on. So I got a case of beer, and I had some snacky snacks like these pretzel sticks, which are a joke. I mean, they're just a running joke in Poland, and I was the prime example of the joke. So I got pretzel sticks and a case of beer, right? And I'm getting ready for the party. I think, let's say it was 6 o'clock. I don't know what time we started, but let's say 6. And so I'm getting ready, and it's almost 6. And I'm thinking, okay, I got a good 20 minutes, maybe a half hour before anybody comes, even though it's 5 to 6, right? And I'm not ready. And I'm getting ready. I don't remember what I was doing, whether I was cleaning or getting dressed or just finishing the laundry or the dishes or something. I don't know what I was doing. But I was getting ready for the party and thinking I had time. And right at 6, bang, bang, bang. Somebody's here. So that's okay, because I can just let whoever it is in, give them a cup of tea, him or her, whoever it is, entertain a little bit while I'm working, while I'm finishing up, just doing this last little bit of stuff to get ready, because I'm not quite ready. And so, but we can chit-chat, get them a cup of tea, something, because Polish people drink tea, or even a beer. So, okay, I open the door to everybody. Everybody's the whole party. They all came together on time. I'm not ready. Well, it's a party. What do you got? there's nothing important. Nothing is important that you have to do. So let them in, entertain them, etc. I didn't speak any Polish. I could say hello, come on in, would you like some tea? How about a beer? But my vocabulary, my ability to communicate was limited and questionable and horrible. I could not speak Polish, and then virtually nobody spoke English, or if they did, it was a few words, and it was struggling and with difficulty. So, but these are nice people, and they're my friends, and so here we are, and we have this party. So they're sitting around my table, you know, glass full of straight pretzel sticks and beers, and they're talking. And one of the cool things about a Polish party of that type is they'll start telling jokes, and they'll just go around the table, and like the next guy will tell a joke, and then the next. And I don't know if the girls usually know so many jokes. Some of them do, but the guys are kind of expected to have a joke to tell. And some guys or some people are just good at having 100 jokes to tell, and they're old ones, new ones they heard yesterday, and or maybe they made them up, and just telling joke after joke, and they're just laughing and having fun, and I'm listening to the music and kind of listening, but I'm not up to that speed yet with my Polish. And also, humor is the most difficult thing to understand. If you can understand humor and actually laugh at a joke, you're on a high level of whatever language you're learning. And another good test of language is if you dream in that language. And just the other day, this is a little sidetrack, I asked my kids, my two younger kids, if they dream in English or Polish, and they said both. Both of them said both. So I think that's pretty cool. And especially if I'm in the dream, then they speak English in the dream. And I don't want my kids to learn Polish from me, that's for sure. So we're at this party, they're at my house, sitting around the table, telling jokes. And the thing with the jokes is it's horrible for me because I don't want their attention, in those situations. And it's still mostly true. It's mostly true that I don't want to be explained the joke. Because then I got to pretend to laugh and think it's funny, like, oh yeah, that is pretty funny, and haha, and I don't, and they hadn't told the punchline yet or something, like you do, or admit that I don't understand it, and then they got to re-explain it more carefully and slowly, and it just kills the timing. And humor is all timing, and then it might not be a funny joke even if I do understand it. And then what do I do with that? What am I going to do? And it's just horrible if they try to explain me or include me in the conversation, especially when it's jokes. I would just rather be on the sideline, making the tea or the coffee or serving the beer. So that's much more comfortable for me if they just leave me alone and enjoy themselves. Yeah. And often it would happen that they would try to explain the joke. That's not a one-time experience. That's like I've had that experience a good 20 times, where it's painful. Don't explain the joke to me. All right, so we're having having the beer. Oh, and this reminds me of another little side story about a Peace Corps girl, a girl from the Peace Corps, telling this story. She wasn't in my group, but it was at one of the trainings where I worked or something, or one other event or something in Peace Corps, where this girl explained how she also had a party similarly, and so the people are at her apartment like they were at mine, but she's got a little side table over against the wall, and on that table there are drinks, Coca-Cola maybe or something, or juice, etc. I don't know what. So stuff over there, right? And after about an hour or more, she realizes, wait a minute, nobody's like helping themselves to the drinks or anything. And she thought that was weird. And then she waited a little longer. And then finally, I think she offered it or something. And then they had them. But they would have never if she hadn't offered. And that's the whole point, or her whole point was that, they're not going to just assume that they can go get the stuff. They want to be served or offered. Whereas an American will open the fridge, take out half a chicken, and start cooking. Okay, I may be exaggerating with the chicken, but open the fridge and help himself to drinks or whatever. Americans are very independent. They arrive late. They drive their own car so they can come late, and then they leave early. They want to be independent. They want to drink what they drink. I like what I drink, and I don't know no sugar in that, And uh, very independent. Polish are more social. I don't know if social is the right word, but they're together in the group. We have a party and we are together at the party. You're in the party and you're enjoying it with us, and you come with us. We leave together when we go home, and we include you in the conversation. We drink together. We drink the same thing together. We are together in the party, and we are a community. We are together. We're not just independent. I'll have this, you have that. I'll drive my car, you drive your car. Hey, hey, come when you want, leave when you want. So very different cultures, and you see it at the parties. And let me continue here. So my party, my first party, continues. We go for an hour. They're telling jokes, talking about, mostly these are teachers with a couple of students of mine. And they're all friends. It's a very small community, so the students, the older students, were friends with the teacher, like literally their neighbors. They lived in the same block, apartments and stuff. So it was a small community, and we're talking, having fun. And at one point, one of them says, "Where's the food?" Oh, what food? I thought this was a party. I got the beer. You got the pretzel sticks. What food are you talking about? Thank God. Because when you live alone in an apartment, you go shopping and you have enough food for one person for one day. And sometimes you run out of food, and then that's when you go to the shop for one person for one day, or maybe 2 days or 3 days. But you don't load up on stuff that's going to spoil. So thank God I had a loaf of bread and a chunk of cheese. And then a couple other things like mayonnaise to go well on it, and maybe an onion or a tomato to chop up. And I very fast made these sandwiches, cheese sandwiches. I grilled them up, so they were on the frying pan, on the stove. Grilled them up. They were very good, because by that point everybody was hungry. Because in Poland you go to a party hungry. You don't eat first and then go to a party. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And so many little things that I didn't know and that I learned the hard way. And that was one of them. Always have food. And from that moment, and that satisfied them. And really thank God I had that bread and that cheese, because I had something to feed them, and I did feed them, and they appreciated it. Another thing they laughed about, though, was I was drinking. I didn't have a lot of glasses. I mean, I'm a one guy. I need one glass if I'm a guy in an apartment. I need one glass, maybe two if I have a guest. But we were drinking out of jars, like literally old jars. And they thought that was so funny. And I think later I got a present, like a birthday present or something, of glasses, like beer glasses. But see, that would be normal to me, to drink from a jar if you don't have a glass. Like, that's nothing funny to me, especially like coming from college, like a college party. But to them, it was really funny and kind of like tasteless or classless. Like, you don't serve your guests in jars. Anyway, cringe moment yeah. Anyway, let's go. Let's keep going here. What do I got here? A cheese sandwiches. And so then it became a tradition. Every party I would have, which was, a couple times a year maybe, I would make these cheese sandwiches. And that was, I think it was a hit. Let's call it a hit. They probably hated them. Anyway, okay, let's go to other parties. In Poland, in those years, in the beginning, they would talk about a band. Where there's a wedding, and the wedding's we're gonna have a band. We hired a band for the wedding, or the prom. They call it studniówka here. Studniówka means prom, and so they got a band. And then I would go to this thing, and it would turn out the band is one keyboard, like a guy who plays that electronic keyboard where you can play all the instruments with the drum machine and everything. And then there would be one singer, like maybe a lady singer singing songs in English maybe, or Polish, or just so the two-person keyboard band. Those were very popular back then, because you could do it cheap, and it's pretty good. It was all right, It wasn't really a band. But that was popular in those days. And then there were some real bands. I've been to some weddings where there's a real like five guys blasting away, just really, and it's always much better. I mean, everybody knows that. It's not a Polish thing, but it's just a fact of life. When you have a live band, it is more fun. It's like that. You take it to 11. You put it up to 11. So but now often they have DJs, and DJs there are pluses and minuses. I mean, with the DJ, you get to hear whatever you want. You can play any music. Um, I'm always amazed when DJs seem to give themselves credit or something for having some talent or something. I'm like, this is not a hard job. And what's amazing is that people do it wrong. Like they don't. You are a professional DJ and you don't do it right. I remember my sister telling me the story about her high school reunion, and there was a DJ and he didn't play any songs from the high school time, like those years. Like, wouldn't that be obvious? Like, how hard is it to be a DJ? And don't try to be a good one. Don't try to be noticeable. Don't make it be like a waiter. The best waiter, you don't even know there's a waiter there. DJ, don't make yourself the star of the show. Just play the music. And play the music we tell you to play, not your favorite stuff you play in your bedroom. Nobody wants to hear that crap. Don't impress us with your musical taste. All right. Anyway, and all these big parties or balls or weddings, everybody dances. There's a lot of food. It's great. There's nothing quite like a Polish wedding. Okay, just checking my time here. Good. So I was at this Polish wedding. Maybe the first wedding I ever went to. I've been to a lot of them now, and a lot of kind of balls, wedding reception, studniówka or prom, other balls for New Year's or Carnival and things. So I was at my friend Leszek's wedding in Dobiegniew, and they're just bringing out food. I mean, there's so much food. If you're ever at a Polish wedding and you don't like something, don't eat it because there's going to be more and there's going to be delicious stuff. And it just keeps coming. So at one point, the ladies from the kitchen bring out these big platters. And on the platters, there's it's like like a pork cutlet rolled up around mushrooms. So it's like stuffed pork. Pork stuffed with mushrooms. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, so the ladies bring this out, and I mean pork with mushroom. I'm like, I love this. This is going to be delicious. And I get one, and I bite into it, and it's kind of dry, and it doesn't really have a lot of flavor. It's not like, I don't know, it's not that tasty. It's dry. It looks better than it tastes. Okay, so I probably finish it because I always finish whatever I take. And, so now I got that in my belly. Then they bring out Tatar. And I don't know if you know what Tatar is, but it's basically like ground beef, but very lean beef. Very lean, without much fat. So it's like a raw hamburger on the plate. And then there's a raw egg yolk on top. I think it's just the yolk. And then around the sides of that, there are like chopped onions, chopped pickles, and maybe one or two other things, plus salt and pepper. And I'm like, imagine a raw hamburger patty with a raw egg on top, and that's just disgusting. I'm not eating that, right? And my friend Krzysiek is sitting across from me, and I'm like, Krzysiek, I'm not eating that. And he says, take one. Just take one. I'll show you how to eat it. So I'm like, I'll try anything, I take it, and he shows me how to mix it all up together, and you mix the onions in there and the pickles. And I loved it. I think I ate 4 of them. It was the best thing. I love Tatar, and it didn't look like anything I would like. And compared to that other thing that looked so delicious, it's like you can't judge a book by its cover, right? So that was fun. Okay, let's talk about a little bit about drinking, because in Poland they drink vodka at these things. Sometimes beer, sometimes other things, but a lot of vodka. It's the most popular thing. And in America, I'm not sure about this, but it seems to me, when I remember, if I wanted to buy any alcohol, everything was about the same price. You want whiskey, you want rum, you want vodka, you want all those liquors, You get a bottle, and it's kind of the same price as the other bottles. I mean, then there are different degrees, the expensive whiskey and the expensive rum, or the middle level priced whatever. But generally, there's not a big difference in prices, I don't think. Or maybe there is, and maybe I'm not familiar. But in Poland, vodka's much cheaper than whiskey. So nobody drinks whiskey; they drink vodka because that's what we drink, and that's we're not going to break the budget just because for alcohol. So everybody drinks vodka, and what's cool is um, there are certain rules regarding drinking, and it goes back to that independence of Americans. Well, I'm having a rum and coke. Well, I like a 7 and 7. Well, I'm having this. No, we all drink the same thing, and we all drink together. And a man pours. That's the rule. Women don't pour. You don't pour if you're a woman. You wait, and you don't pour for yourself. You don't serve yourself first. The man pours for all the women. It goes around the table. This is also something I didn't know, or either I didn't know it, or I wasn't comfortable doing it. Because some guys just like stand up, grab the bottle, open it up, start pouring, and I'm a little bit nervous about when to do it. What if I spill? They got these little shot glasses. I'm not comfortable doing it, or I wasn't. Now I think I could do it, but so I'm at this party for teachers in Dobiegniew at the end of the year, summertime and end of the school year. We're out. I think we were at somebody's backyard at a picnic table. And I'm the only man there because Leszek hadn't shown up yet. And I remember one of the other teachers, like, commenting, like, if there were a man here. I felt so stupid. We could start drinking. Anyway, finally, Leszek showed up and saved the day. Um, so man serves the alcohol, and we all drink together at the same time. And then when you want your second one, you serve, and then you drink all together at the same time. And I learned this. I didn't even know if that was happening. I mean, I get my drink or whatever, I drink it. Of course, you got your cheers. I mean, maybe make a toast or not. But I was at one of these proms, a high school prom, Studniówka, in Dębica, where I was living at the time. And I think the guy I was with, this guy that was sitting with me, was one of the fathers of one of the kids. I was one of the teachers, and I'd been invited to this thing. And so he and I are sitting and drinking vodka while everybody else is dancing and stuff. And we're talking, and I think his name was Vitek. And at a certain point, I noticed every time I drink, he drinks. And that's when I learned, and we had been drinking like for hours. And when it dawned on me that I reach for my glass, he reaches for his glass. And I could almost remote control his hand. I reach, he reaches. And if I don't reach, he doesn't reach. And I'm like, okay, I'm reaching, he's reaching, and we're going to drink together. Okay, we drink together. Good. And I noticed in that, and I'd been there for, a long time. So you drink together, and this is something that you wouldn't know automatically. And you don't just help yourself, serve yourself, drink yourself. All right. Okay. And then just one more point here on parties. If you go to a wedding or any of these balls, a studniówka, any kind of ball, you're there till morning, man. You don't go home at 10 o'clock for sure, not even 12 o'clock. They go till what they call the white morning. And I learned this the hard way. Another wedding I went to, I remember this one was in Pszczyna, I think. And I'm so tired. I was so tired. I mean, it got after midnight. It got to be 1 o'clock, and I'm like, I'm going to sleep. And I couldn't. I had to keep like partying, dancing. Oh God, I was tired. But you have to expect that. Now I know, and now I expect it, and I'm fine. I can stay up, and it's not really till the white morning. You can go to the white morning, but it's usually till at least 2 o'clock, and then maybe 3, 4 o'clock. It could go on to 6 o'clock, but you got to make it at least to 2 o'clock, and that's hard. And then I was at one party in Chicago later after having lived in Poland a long time. This was the first time my wife went to Chicago, and we're at this place, and they start the the workers at the place start cleaning up the chairs. There are these folding chairs, and it's 10 o'clock or something. I'm like, this is so weird. I've forgotten about this. Like, I'm ready. I'm just getting started at 10 o'clock. And they're folding up the chairs, trying to shuffle us out. God, the party's over? I'm just starting. There was one more thing I wanted to say about weddings, especially, or any of these parties. Somehow I skipped it here in my notes. Where is it? Oh, waitresses. That's what it is. Yeah, if you go to a ball or a wedding reception, and you sit down. Eventually you make your entrance. Depending on what it is, if it's a wedding, they got the thing with the salt and the bread, and there's a kind of a ceremony to it, and everything's a little bit stiff and formal at that point, and you sit down, and what's cool is these waitresses come around serving soup. It's usually rosu, which is like chicken broth or chicken soup. It's very good. It could be a different kind of soup, but very often it's rosu. And but the point is that it's waitresses coming around serving, and it's just so wonderful because you're being served, and then they're the ones bringing out all the food all night, and it's just great to be served. Not the American smorgasbord where you stand up with your plate, get in line, you're elbowing people, you're like, oh, is there any more of that left? And then you're sneezing on the thing. It's just so not, there's no way to do that smorgasbord elegantly. There's nothing elegant about it. It's, as polite as you are and let the ladies go first or whatever, there's no elegance to it. It's good to be served. It's good to have waitresses or waiters serving, but it's expensive. Labor's expensive in America. It's cheap in Poland, or cheaper. It's affordable, let's say. So it's really nice to have this wait staff running around bringing people food all night. Wonderful, great. Okay, I think I'm done. Great. Yeah. All right, that's it. Goodbye.